Hey everyone, I am here with Paul. Paul is an indie dev that we have featured on our Best of series several times, and he is creating a video game that is soon to be released on August 3rd onto Steam called The Ramp. And it's a skateboarding video game and completely built using Unity. And Paul, thank you for being a part of this. I think this is the first time we've actually spoken to each other, but thank you for coming over here. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your education, how you got into Unity?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Um, so after school, a short detour to a regular computer science program, which I then left after a couple of months. I started studying game design at a German university in Berlin. I'm still based here in Berlin. I was like a regular game design bachelor's program. During this program, I also, like when I started, I didn't really have an idea where I wanted to go with it. I thought, hey, games are cool, and I really would love to work somewhere in the games industry, but I hadn't any like plan or position I was going for, and also no really like I didn't have a specific skill set when I started. Things here are pretty open, so you can move in a more artistic direction or go for programming or whatever. And then the usual way it goes is that you complete several projects during your studies here, and then you usually like team up with other students from the program to work on the projects. And doing that, I kind of like discovered my love for creating indie games. And then also during this program, I actually published two games with some friends from uni. One's called Superflight, that was the first game, and then we did another game called Islanders. Yeah, actually, it went pretty well for us as of now. Together, like in some, both games have sold, I think, 1.2 million units.
Hmm.
And yeah, right now, technically, I'm still enrolled actually at the uni now in the master's program. But yeah, actually, all I'm doing now every day is working on my own indie game. So yeah, the project you mentioned called The Ramp, and it's a minimalist skateboarding game. And it's also the first project I'm developing completely on my own. Yeah, and it's almost finished. It's releasing in 3 weeks on Steam. So
That,
yeah, busy times right now, but it's very exciting.
that's incredible. So guys, if you can, and I'm sure you can see it. Let me know if you can see it on the screen itself. This is Paul's Twitter account, and this is the game that he is currently developing. I mean, look at this. He's got 32,000 views. That's 32,000 eyeballs that are really interested in this game that's going to be released. Um, and you could see the progress and the updates that he makes on a regular basis. And it seems like a really simple concept, but it's executed very well. Is this something that you've wanted to do for a while? Did it come about from a game jam? This is also Paul practicing ragdoll effects right here. Um, if is this something that just came out of just left field, or is this something you wanted to make for a while?
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, as you can see in the video you just showed, I have a passion for skateboarding in real life as well. So doing a game about it was something I wanted to do for a long time, but I never could convince any of my teammates to actually do a skateboarding game. So I
Mhm.
thought, now that I am, yeah, working alone, I could give that a try. And also, there are already a couple of skateboarding games, but none of them focuses on skateboarding in a half pipe and pool. But
Mhm.
most of them like street skateboarding games where you jump down stair sets and Yeah, skate on the street. So I kind of like pondered with this idea in my mind for quite some time, but it wasn't until last summer that I got into learning how this whole 3D pipeline works. Because
Mhm.
before I had the pleasure of working with a very talented artist at uni, Friedemann Almenröder, who did the yeah, direction for both Superflight and Islanders. So yeah, it wasn't until very recently that I kind of got the skills to really start working on it.
Mhm. Mhm. Awesome, awesome. And so, man, this is really neat. So, can you give us an idea of how your system works here? Because obviously there is a check to see if you're actually going down the pipe correctly, but there's physics and gravity, and there's just a whole bunch of really cool stuff. I see you doing a rail grab over here, and so give us an idea of like what how you came into this concept of like how you're going to develop it, like programming wise.
Yeah, I think that was actually how it started. And in the first place, I was um, trying to prototype a surf game because I like surfing as well. So I figured, well, all those kind of sports where you move on a board, they kind of, like, even though it works differently in the water, obviously, but they kind of like follow the same scheme physics wise when you really like break it down to very, very basics. That is, you like similar to a car almost without an engine. You just drive and then you can steer and like redirect your motion vector onto whatever surface you are on currently.
Mhm.
And in the very beginning, like when you scroll down all the way on my Twitter page, you can like find some very old prototypes from
Absolutely,
last
we could do that
November.
right now.
So
Let's embarrass the man.
in the very beginning, I was just using plain Unity physics with I think it was either a box or a capsule collider, doesn't matter. And I just set its velocity in every fixed update and kind of like projected it into the forward direction of the player and onto the ground normal of the surface the player was currently riding on. But then, because like it gave me some issues for the more advanced physics, like you said, jumping out of the pipe and grinding on the edge, it just became kind of a hassle to like keep control of what was happening physics wise. So I decided to try to implement my own physics system, and that was actually pretty straightforward as well. The way it works now is that I'm mainly using two raycasts that just shoot out of the front and the rear axle, so just to detect the ground below the skater. And then I maintain this velocity vector and just project it into the player's forward direction and as well onto the like average ground normal between the front and the rear axle.
Mhm. Wow.
Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. There's going some basic physics calculations like for drag and speed you lose when you're moving in the air, stuff like
Mhm.
that. And there is also lines on the edges of the half pipe and the bowl that give you give you a way of controlling the alignment of the skater in air, so that when you jump in the air in the pool and kind of like jump around the corner, that the skater follows the shape of the pool. But that's actually pretty much it. It's super simple, and then when the skater crashes, it just switches to Unity default physics and ragdoll
Mhm.
stuff. So just a bunch of colliders that are connected with Unity joints.
Right. So, do you see this animation, this thing right here, where you're showing a whole bunch of different animated poses for the skateboarder right here on your Twitter feed?
Yeah,
So, did you create these all on your own? And and assemble this together, or did you use
Yeah, I did. I'm using a plugin for Unity. It's called UMotion Pro because in the beginning I've assembled the animations in Blender and then export them to Unity. But that kind of, because I was constantly trying to refine the animations, it was taking up a lot of time. This whole process of exporting the animations over and over again. So yeah, I found this plugin. It's called UMotion Pro, and it basically gives you the opportunity to just do the animations directly in Engine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty. I'm not an animation pro, but for my standards, it's pretty advanced. You have like inverse kinematics and everything. So that was all I needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then how the animation in the game works is pretty simple as well, actually, because I only ever do those like blend shapes or poses you see in the video, and there are no transition animations whatsoever. I just blend between them in the animation controller, and because the camera is so far away, you don't notice.
Mm. Oh, very cool. Now, this is absolutely incredible. So, one of our students asked, at what point, and I still I'm going to dive more into the development process, but at what point did you say, yeah, you know what, I got a legit game here. I can publish this. I can sell this.
That was actually not that far, not that long ago. So it went the following way. I graduated from my bachelor's program here last year in spring, so 2020. And then like I was doing different kinds of things, a bit of prototyping, a bit of vacation, seeing my family, stuff like that. And then in last November, I've started prototyping the skateboarding game. And that was at that time it became clear that we are most likely are not continuing developing with the team I've developed Islanders and Superflight with, because all three of us were kind of like involved in our personal projects and want to focus on that for some time. And then the opportunity arose to enroll for the master's program I was mentioning earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I enrolled for a master's program, which started this year in April.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very open and relaxed. So the concept of the program is that you kind of apply with an idea or a project, and then all you do in the master's program basically is working on the project. And the idea I applied with was, hey, I want to find out more about the production process of a solo developed indie game. And yeah, then and at the when the master program started, I was kind of reassessing my current situation, and I had like different options. First, I thought, well, I just going to develop the skateboarding game for the next 1.5 or 2 years, and like just making it a bigger thing, adding unlockables and I don't know, a story and whatnot. But then I also figured, okay, the idea behind the game originally was I wanted to bring this feeling of how amazing skateboarding feels to people that might not skate in real life. And then, yeah, I figured out that those people, like my girlfriend, for example, she would never even buy a skateboarding game because she's not interested in skateboarding. And then I figured, hey, I maybe want to do a different game that is not skateboard themed, but tries to convey the same feeling. And then I was very close to just scrapping the whole thing and starting on a new game. And then I had this light bulb moment where I understood that that is actually, I think, the biggest threat to every indie game is not finishing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got distracted a lot and easily. So it was a terrifying thought to me that I maybe would never be able to finish it, and just stop working on it along the way. So then I decided what's the shortest possible time span I can imagine to make this into some kind of finished product. yeah, that's when I came up with August 3rd and thought, okay, I just make the most minimal version of the game I can imagine, but it's gonna be finished.
Mm-hmm. Now, was that a big breakthrough for you, where you're sitting there contemplating all the things, like you mentioned, the story and all these different levels, and you're like, nah, just that's distraction. I just need to get the game done. I just need to get it completed. I want to get feedback. I want to understand if people like it or not. Do you at what point, or do you feel that that has helped shape this game to get this published, and that also making that deadline kind of forced you to just cut the fat, so to speak, and just say, this is all I'm going to focus in on. It's in its purest form.
Yeah, definitely. It was crucial, I think, and definitely marked an important point in the development. And it was, yeah, I had to learn this myself because I think it actually was also crucial to the games we developed as a team before, that they both were very narrow in scope and they had like a specific point they wanted to make, and we're all focused on that. And yeah, it gave us the opportunity to make both like kind of polished games, but also for both games the actual production time was super short. We both produced them in like 6 to 8 months of production time, which is, yeah, compared to a lot of other titles, is really really short. But then when I was developing on my own, I found myself kind of um, lacking the discipline and kind of the I couldn't really make productive decisions anymore because I don't have to justify it to my teammates. I could just do whatever I wanted and was like, yeah, that sounds cool and that's a cool idea and I'm gonna do that and that and that, and that's probably something everyone who ever tried making a game can relate to. It's just so easy to get caught up in all the cool ideas you have. So I think that is, I mean, it's always kind of the biggest challenge in making games, but especially if you're developing solo, just like maintaining a clear focus and, yeah, just like make clear what is the point you're trying to make with the game, and then really focus on that and strip away all the unnecessary um, stuff that makes it just a lot easier to finish anything.
So, Connie asked a question, with the phases that you went through. Um, what phases did you actually go through? Like the initial development, the UI, deployable pipeline, et cetera, et cetera. Like, how much time did you give to each one of those, um, to get through the entire process?
Well, I wish there were distinct phases.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always imagine when I like begin a project and like plan it out on paper. I'm like, yeah, then this 3 week block I'm going to do UI, and then here I will do marketing. But yeah, in my experience, or at least the way how I work, it was I wouldn't say chaotic, but actually the approach is that you try to, I copied that from Jonas Tyrola, the other person I was working on before in the team. He's doing an awesome solo project as well, and he has a super cool YouTube channel, so definitely check that out. But his philosophy was just keeping his game as close to being publishable as he could at any time in development, so to just avoid pushing something that is actually very important so far to the edge of your production time that you cannot really complete it. Yeah, that's kind of like a dangerous thing to do. So yeah, I tried to just keep everything together, kind of in a way, most of the time.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, when did you set this up to go onto Steam? When did you create your Steam page? How was that process? Greenlighting
Well,
it? what's the
Publishing to
thought?
Steam usually, at least if you publish something there the first time, consists of two steps. The first is like doing the actual setup with Steam. So depending whether on you are an individual person or a company, doing the different tax setup steps that are necessary, stuff like that. Because you have to complete that before you are even able to like make a game page or whatever. And I was lucky enough to already I already did this when I was graduating because I was always also working on a game back then, which I scrapped. But I was completed already with the Steam registration stuff, and then I only had to like set up the game and the game's page on Steam. And I believe I did that right after I decided to publish it in August. So that was probably end of April, I would say, because in my head it was just the next logical step. I thought, okay, I really want to hold myself accountable to this decision and don't want to like postpone the release date or whatnot. So I figured, well, the best way to hold myself accountable is to just put it out there and like make people see it, and then it's not as easy to change plans as it would be if you just like on your own, you know.
So, what is your what is your view of how you're going to market this game? Is it a free game? Is it DLC that you're going to make money off of? What is the goal of this title?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not a free game because I'm trying to live of it. So it's gonna be a Steam release first, and on Steam it will be around $5, or I think 5.99 in US dollars and €5 for Europe. And yeah, I'm trying to like fill this gap or like scratch the itch I personally had for a game that is just there to relax 10 or 15 minutes with when you like, I don't know, come home from work or whatever, have the desire to just like experience those 10 minutes of flow. And the game that does not overwhelm you with 1,000 quests and missions and story and so many different things you have to focus on. And yeah, just really conveys this one certain feeling. And yeah, I think the approach we had in the past with the other two games was kind of like find the sweet spot of at what price would you rather just buy and try the game than further contemplate whether you should buy it or not. So find like price that matches your product so well and might be like just a little bit underpriced, so people have just a good feeling when they buy it because they see it, think, oh, that looks nice, and oh, that's so cheap, I just buy and see if it's for me. Then if they have a good experience, they also like just have a feeling of having made a good deal for themselves.
So
And
you. Oh, go ahead, please, please.
yeah, I think the other thing that's very important is just to be very honest about what your product is. So yeah, I think it's important to not like over not making it a bigger or more. I don't know. It's something I see with a lot of indie games that they then like have a trailer where there's like an epic narrator that they just like they try so much to act like the next AAA game, and then people who buy the game are kind of
Right.
angry at them that it's not the next AAA game. So at least in our experience, we found it very helpful to just be very, very honest about what the product is and who we are and what to expect from the product.
kind of that No Man's Sky kind of dilemma where they
Yeah,
promise
exactly.
the greatest experience ever, and then they get in it and like there's nothing to do. You just fly around all day in mine.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm planning to do this for the ramp as well, but you can already check it out on the Steam page of Superflight and Islanders. We actually had this trailer for both of the games on the Steam page where Friedemann, the other guy, was just like explaining the game and what to expect from the game for a minute or two. And not in this epic sense, but he was just like saying, hey, yeah, this is our game, you do this and that. And yeah, if you like the idea, then it's probably for you and you can have a good time with it.
That's awesome.
And yeah, we found people are really appreciating that.
Well, and it's funny talking about this honesty. So you've shipped. This is going to be your third game that you've shipped. What are some things that you have learned that are just they weren't common knowledge back when you started doing this, but now it's like you live and breathe by, like as far as whether it's like deadlines, whether it's concept, whether it's just overall coming into a project, what to know and to understand. Like, what are some things that you have learned along the way where it's like, do not skip this step. This is an important thing to have always done.
Well, I mean, honesty definitely is an important point, I think, always, because it goes well together with just embracing who you are as an indie developer. And there are so many things you cannot be when developing indie games. So I think it's always important to look for the point you're actually trying to make with the game or product you're working on. Then really, yeah, embrace it and embrace your identity and all your strengths and weaknesses that come with it. But I think probably the most important point, especially to indie games, is to pick the right scope for your product. And it's something I have found to be very difficult in the past, but it's super, super important to just like have a clear idea in your mind of what you can achieve in a certain time. I mean, it's probably something you get better with over the course of the years you spend developing. You can just like get a more realistic impression of what you're able to do in, say, a year or 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's this saying that there are the first 90% of your game, and when you finish those, then the other 90% of your game. You have to develop the other 90% of your game, and that was pretty much my experience. So it's super helpful to just like start very small, and then like almost all the time you will you see then that even fleshing out a very small idea and making a finished product out of it is like a lot of work. And then also I think a lot of great games are at the core really, really simple ideas, and then there is like good stuff built around a simple idea. Well, yeah, I think it's really important to not go too overboard with your initial project pitch when you're starting it. Exactly. I mean, what you see in the trailer is pretty much everything there is to this game. That was what I was mentioning earlier. It's really, it even says in the description, it's rather a toy probably than a real game, because there is no like imposed challenge in the game or anything the game forces you to do. It's mainly just like skating around the different levels, enjoy the atmosphere and the flow, and yeah, set your own goals kind of.
So were you dying hysterically when you started doing the ragdoll effects and you're just eating concrete by missing a jump? Like, I look at this particular spot right up here on the pool level, right here. Looks so
That's actually
incredibly
what
painful.
you see there, and the pool level is like one of the parts of the levels where you can just set your own goals and where you can like adjust the difficulty because it's kind of easy to master, but easy to learn. But then it gets you can make it harder and harder. You can say like, hey, can I do a 540-degree rotation over the orange block in the corner of the pool, or can I do this or that?
Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so August 3rd is when this game is coming out. Guys, do you have any questions for Paul while he's here? Because other than when you're gonna buy it and how much it costs, because we've already covered that. Is this the ramp that you go through to hit the other ramp over here? That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the mega ramp.
Oh my goodness. And with this particular pool level, do you start up here and then you work your way, or do you start at another section? And how does the scoring mechanic work? Like, do you have to hit a certain score and then the level's over, or does it just keep going on and on?
No, no, that was what I was trying to explain earlier. There isn't even score in the game. It's really all about just enjoying yourself and the flow.
Gotcha.
So you're free to leave whenever you want to and free to switch between the levels.
Were you surprised when you looked on to see the commercial on Twitter to see that there was already 30,000 people who watched your video and are stoked about it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had positive response on Twitter before, but yesterday was the official announcement day.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see that it went quite well. But that's actually maybe interesting for you guys as well. Um, for the marketing part of the game, like there was a point in development where I thought about getting a publisher for the game, but then it kind of figured out that since I was already almost done with the game, I didn't need any funding or anything.
Mhm.
Essentially, I was just looking for publishing support. So yeah, I contacted some friends of mine who have in the game marketing agency called Future Friends, and I kind of outsourced the marketing, or at least parts of the marketing around the release to them. So they took care of writing and publishing the press releases yesterday and stuff like that.
That's
They
amazing.
helped a great deal. So that's probably also why Twitter post from yesterday.
Mhm. And
Um,
you would of course seem to recommend that to people to if you're going
well,
to.
it depends, I would say, on what you like working on. But I mean, your game most likely will not be discovered without you doing anything for it. So marketing is definitely an important part of making an indie game, and usually you have a lot of other things to do as well. So yeah, it's probably just stressful to do your own marketing all on your own.
Mhm, mhm.
But I suppose it can work without it because when we did the first game, Superflight, we literally did no marketing whatsoever. We just like published it on Steam and kind of got lucky. Like we harassed one guy from Kotaku, so he wrote an article. But besides that, I think people mostly just discovered it on Steam and then they liked it and started like writing about it and sharing it.
That's
But
incredible.
that can definitely work as well. But of course, it's there is a lot of luck involved in. So I would recommend doing at least a bit of marketing, whatever you can afford.
Yeah, yeah, incredible. Well, I don't think there's any questions so far, so this has been incredible. Any last words you'd like to give to the people here who are going to be game developers pursuing the dream?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, keep it up, set the right scope for your projects, and yeah, definitely make sure to share it with people so you can get feedback and also like, make people aware that your game exists and yeah, people can start wishlisting it on Steam, buying it, and sharing it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So definitely don't be the hermit in your own little world, not talking about your game to anybody. Just make sure people
I mean,
know that this is actually happening.
I'm prone to that as well because most of the time I'm scared that people don't like my work or whatever, and then I'm kind of trying to avoid putting it out there. But yeah, it's super important, and also there are a lot of amazing people out there that would just share their feedback with you and help you make a game a better game.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a question coming up.
Yeah. Well, with the release of your game, how do you decide to switch to another project?
Oh, you mean like for how long I'm planning to maintain the current game after release, or?
Yeah, I think that's how long do you plan on maintaining this, and then
Oh yeah,
now,
yeah.
what's your next move after this?
Well, I'm not a big fan of this games as a service thing that arose over the last couple of years. So for the last two games, we did like a couple of weeks of fixing bugs and stuff like that after release. But then we pretty much just left them as they were, and I think I'm probably going to do the same with the ramp. I'm like almost 100% sure that there will be bugs I haven't discovered by release, and there will be like 2 or 3 weeks of work after release. But then, yeah, I might do something like a DLC if there's really positive reception. But I think if I do anything further with the project, it would be rather porting it to other platforms. Like I already had some mobile builds running; they were great fun. So I'd love to see it on mobile as well, or Nintendo Switch maybe, stuff like that. I guess. But actually, I'm quite eager to start the next project. I have like this very long backlog, 85 ideas. So
So, what's going to be your next one then? Do you have anything that you can tell us?
I haven't decided yet, but I think I mentioned it earlier. I definitely want to make a game that captures the same feeling of flow, but is not skateboard themed, but
Mhm.
rather, well, a bit more abstract maybe. I don't know if you guys played The Journey.
Mhm.
It's an amazing game, I think 2012 or something like that. There is this segment of the game where for 5 minutes or so you just like slide down this massive sand hill thing, and it just I think it has a great atmosphere and a great sense of flow in it. I kind of like maybe something in that direction, something that is a bit less close to reality in its art style, but tries to like yeah make this feeling of flow and feeling I experience when I skateboard in real life. I want to make that accessible for people that don't like skateboarding.
Ooh, awesome.
But I also have a ton of other ideas, so maybe something else. I don't know yet.
Okay.
What's my marketing strategy?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, my marketing strategy was mainly sharing stuff on Twitter. So I took a break from Twitter a couple of years ago, and then only rejoined Twitter last December or November, something like that, to yeah for the sole purpose actually of marketing my project. So I managed to collect a couple of followers in the last couple of months. That was mainly my marketing, and now, as I said, I have sourced out a bit of the marketing and PR to the marketing agency. Did I see much more engagement versus the game we dropped out of the blue? I think you're referring to the first game we did. Yeah, I mean, there literally was no engagement before release, with the first game. So right now there's definitely more engagement than with the first game, but I have to wait for release to see if it really, if there's really more engagement. But I think also like things have changed slightly, because when we released the first game, Steam was definitely a different place. Recently read a statistic about, I think, 2020 Steam releases, and that was insane. It was like, I don't know how many thousand games released on Steam 2020, but like a lot. And I think back in 2017, when we released the first game, it was still a bit easier to gain attention. So I wouldn't recommend just dropping a game out of the blue if you can avoid it right now. Especially because I think the algorithm in Steam really favors your game if it gets some traffic in the beginning, and then it kind of like snowballs, and Steam then, after the Steam algorithm kind of discovered your game, it will start to bring organic traffic by itself to the game. So I would definitely recommend to get some initial engagement with your game on release. My wish lists are looking okay, I think. Around 2000, yeah, I think 1,900, something like that. But I also could really, I was gathering some wish lists at a very slow pace since April when I set up the page. But yesterday I still had like 990 or so, and then just with the announcement day yesterday and the big Twitter posts and a couple of outlets like Kotaku and PC Gamer, they wrote little articles. They seem to boost wishlist counts a lot. I haven't seen any support from Steam side for marketing game. Yeah, they definitely, I think, I haven't heard of them helping you if you have strong wish lists, but probably they do that as well. We had it with the other two games released. They approached us sometime after release, after the games already were successful. They kind of invited us to do the daily deal or midweek madness or something like that, where they just put your game on sale and feature you on a special place in the store. And also, of course, like the Steam algorithm, I think puts your game on the front page when it's among the good selling games at the time. Then you land in the Steam capsule area on the front page, which also helps a lot.
Gotcha. Awesome. I think that was all the questions. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.